I think if you're going to mandate return to office, you have to invest into the technology to make it worthwhile. Real collaboration spaces like high quality AV for hybrid meetings, those seamless room scheduling that you like to see when you're in the office all the time, secure remote access, strong bandwidth, big one, and that digital whiteboarding tool that everybody likes to have in offices. Otherwise, you're just bringing people back to sit on Zoom in a different building. That's it. That's all you're doing.
You know, I hear people talk about where they've gone back into the office, and here they are, they're each sitting at their own cubicle, and they're not going into a conference room. They're all on the same Zoom call. They're all in the same building, and it just blows my mind.
Freddy? Freddy, can you hear me?
Barely. There's some nut next to me screaming his head off.
AV Network Security, what you need to know if your company is returning back to the office, and ISE launches a new foundation. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 758, recorded Friday, February 27th, 2026, Cubicle Zoom. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. We have partnerships, AI and live sports, and a new foundation promoting AV. Let's get into it. If your organization runs Google Workspace, you just got more options for your meeting rooms. Google has announced that Google Meet will now run natively on hardware from Neat, giving IT managers more flexibility when it comes to equipping conference spaces without a full platform overhaul. Now, the bigger headline may be this: Google has confirmed built-in interoperability with Microsoft Teams, adding to existing cross-platform support for Zoom, WebEx, and Pexip. For organizations navigating a hybrid environment where some teams are on Teams and others are on Meet or whatever, that friction just got a whole lot smaller. Premium interoperability is available through Pexip. The practical takeaway is your meeting rooms may soon need to do less choosing of sides and more just working. Amazon Web Services has a new tool that could change how you think about post-production. AWS Elemental Inference is a fully managed AI service that analyzes video in real time and automatically optimizes it for different platforms and formats. The most immediate application, it can take your standard landscape video and convert it to vertical format on the fly, making it ready for social media and mobile audiences without anyone in your team touching it manually. It also automatically detects and extracts highlight clips from live content for immediate distribution. Critically, it plugs directly into existing AWS video workflows, so if you're already using AWS Elemental Media Live, there's no architectural overhaul required. For IT and media managers watching content production costs, this is AI reducing labor, not adding complexity. Now, we'll of course see that in action at NAB 2026 in April. A new partnership between Aurora Multimedia and Netgear is taking directly aim at a serious problem. Two companies have integrated Aurora's IP-based net technology with Netgear's M4250 and M4350 AV switches, switches that many IT departments already have deployed on their networks. The result is a system that scales up to 255 sources and displays, delivering 4K 60 video with 0 frame latency, and is designed to be genuinely plug and play. Anyone who has tried to hire or retain qualified AV and technology talent recently knows that the challenge is real. The launch of the ISE Foundation is one of the industry's most concrete responses to that problem yet. Backed by Avixa and Cedia and supported by the Barcelona City Council and the government of Catalonia, the foundation is focused on 3 areas that should be on every tech manager's radar: workforce development, startup innovation, and social impact. The trainer program is expanding to partner with up to 150 educational institutions with industry-specific vocational pathways planned from 2027. For organizations that depend on qualified AV and integrated support, whether it's in-house or through partners, having a pipeline like this benefits everybody down the way. And finally, a notable change in the media that covers your industry. Our friend Clive Caldwell, who has spent 15 years as group editor of AV Magazine, is stepping down. His departure date is March 30th. Taking over as group editor of both AV Magazine and Electronics Weekly is Caroline Hayes, who brings deep experience in technology and management media. For those of you who rely on AV Magazine as a resource for product evaluation, industry trends, and buying guidance, it's worth watching how the publication evolves under new leadership. Transitions like this can bring fresh perspective and new editorial, but for readership of technology decision makers and others, that's often a good thing. We wish Mr. Clive Caldwell a very, very happy retirement, well-earned break, and welcome to Caroline Hayes in the role. That's your AV News. Stick around for this week's Roundtable, where we will tackle return to office needs and AV network security. This is AV Week. Welcome back. Now we bring in our fantastic roundtable with us to discuss a couple more articles and issues. First and foremost, Kelly Teal from TLD Design Consultants. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, as always, for having me.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Susan Wilhite works for our buddies over at Bluefin. How are you, ma'am?
Doing great in sunny California.
Oh, God love you. I'm still in the Midwest, although we did not get 3 feet of snow, unlike my buddy Chris Netto in New Jersey. So I will point that out. Kelly didn't get any snow either.
Not at all.
She's in the south. She's close to you, Susan. Not quite to California, but she's over in Arizona. And last but not least, a young man who got no snow at all because I'm not sure it ever snows in Ireland. Justin Dawson from All Things Techie.
It just rains in Ireland.
That's what I thought. Like I've never seen like the snow-capped mountains of Ireland. That does not a thing, is it?
This, I think, must be the first day this year I've seen Ireland that it hasn't rained. And it was starting to, like, the clouds and overcast.
It is the 27th of February, brother.
It's our summer, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, all in one.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a article from somebody close to Justin, AV Magazine. Newcastle United Football Club made headlines recently, and not for anything that happened on the pitch. The Premier League's club new CEO issued a full return to office. Just for the record, RTO is what I'm going to say from now on, at least for the rest of this story. He issued a full RTO mandate for all 500 employees effective the start of March. No hybrid at all. No work from home, no nothing. The stated goal is cultural change, which is a common theme. Leadership believes having everyone on site will make staff more, quote unquote, driven and more connected to the organization. Now, Newcastle is not alone here. You've got JP Morgan, Amazon, Starbucks, and on and on and on. Folks are pulling employees back from hybrid and more to the office. Every time a major employer makes this call, it sends a ripple through IT and AV departments alike, who suddenly need to rethink how their physical spaces are equipped, managed, and supposed to be supported. So we're going to talk about that. Kelly, when you look at headlines like this, what exactly does this mean for your customers, the folks that you're designing for, AV, and as well as the IT infrastructure? And also, what does it mean for them when it comes to looking at the capacity that they had 5 years ago versus what they suddenly have to ramp up now?
Gets overlooked quite a bit because, a lot of people work off of a laptop and mouse now and maybe a keyboard, and they bring that back and forth. But when you start talking about doing kind of an all blanket mandate of return to the office, you have to accommodate for docking stations, multiple screens. When you tell people they're hybrid for 5 years or remote for 5 years, they're not used to, or they're used to having that set up at home, but then they get to the office. Are they expecting those people to bring in their own equipment? Are they going to do it? I think I have my own equipment because I work from home. But if my boss were to say, oh, you got to come in person, he would provide the equipment. Now, that's my boss. Now, other bigger firms, I don't know how that works. And I don't think return to office is inherently wrong. I do think that blanket mandates are usually a sign of culture or leadership reset, not necessarily a productivity problem. Different roles function differently, right? So you've got designers, engineers, subject matter experts, people doing deep focus work can often be just as productive, if not more, at home. But executive leadership, for instance, business development, and people who are highly collaborative roles benefit from being in person. And I personally, we do have clients in Phoenix where I'm located, so I do go on site, and that helps me. And it's not required, but I do go on site. That travel and presence is part of the job, but my work setup is at home. I don't go into an office, and if we were to open an office, I would have to find a way to have equipment there and then here, because I'm not taking all that equipment back and forth. So that would have to be accounted for. I don't know. I think it's going to be dependent on what these companies did for the last 5 years while people were hybrid or working from home. I hope that they've considered that, that IT infrastructure that's going to be required, and I hope they still have it. I hope that it's still set up that way. But I think if you're going to mandate return to office, you have to invest into the technology to make it worthwhile. Real collaboration spaces like high quality AV for hybrid meetings, those seamless room scheduling that you like to see when you're in the office all the time, secure remote access, strong bandwidth, big one, and that digital whiteboarding tool that everybody likes to have in offices. Otherwise, you're just bringing people back to sit on Zoom in a different building. That's it. That's all you're doing. And I'm not anti-office. I'm anti-attendance and based management. The smartest organizations I see are role-based and performance-based, not location-based. I think, again, these are absolutely roles that benefit from there are roles that benefit from being in person, like executive leadership, business development roles, but those rely heavily on spontaneous collaboration or relationship building. But when we're talking about, these design roles, engineering roles, I don't, unless they set it up correctly and they do provide a really good infrastructure for people to be there and have a reason to be there all the time, 5 days a week again, which is most of your life. I don't think there's any reason to make people come back to do what they're already doing. I just don't think there's any reason for it. So I'd really be interested to know if these companies have thought all this out before deciding and making these really harsh, you have to come in, there's no hybrid. The fact that there's no hybrid option either, it's a really strict rule. I don't agree with it, but who am I to say? I'm not one of their CEOs, so maybe I'm wrong.
Susan, the reason I'm starting with you and Kelly is you are both on this call, you're both working from home, right? Now, I say working from home. Susan travels, quite frankly, I think more than I do. So she's working from anywhere, right? She is 100% a WFA, work from anywhere type person. When you're talking to folks, right, and a little bit what Kelly was saying, right? What conversations should these folks be having? Yes, there is the cultural part. Yes, there is the management part. There is this underlying thing that it doesn't feel like that companies are having when it comes to the technology, and the realization that if you are just now having this RTO conversation, you're going to have a pretty significant investment in the technology to allow people to actually work from the office.
It's funny because when you sent this article, and first of all, it's the Premier Soccer League, come on. But at the same time, I think of the personal side and the work side. And the personal side, my PTSD flips out because I've had companies. That's why I've worked from home since 2008, because I've had companies that like to micromanage and get that thumb underneath you, and see what you're doing and all of that. I think, being together as a team is a great strength building for teamwork, mentoring, career development, easier to get things done, sometimes to get up and walk over to talk to someone. But it's funny because this is, I've been doing this since pre-COVID, and then COVID hit and everybody went, hey, wait, there's this thing called a work-life balance. And, my nephew's 25, his generation, they don't see going into an office every day being something that's truly important, they want that work-life balance where, I'm a little bit older, in the sense that was and used to have to go into an office every day. So, that's from the personal side of things, I see it that way. But then from the business side of things, I think of new opportunities for, especially, I'm in digital signage. what a great way, like I said, new opportunities, a great way for us to, build corporate culture, communicating, updating policies, reinforcing, real-time updates or reinforcing stuff that they want that's going on, and being able to communicate that. So with digital signage, you have all sorts of ways to communicate now differently. And that's like what Kelly was saying is, at home, the technology, I have a great setup here. It's, like Houston Command Center with, 4 different monitors. Am I going to have that at my work office? Those are things that I need to be successful. But then again, like you said, I've been working from home, and I'm going to date myself, 2008. So I'm used to getting stuff done on a laptop. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it makes the back of my hair stand up, on the back of my neck, the little hairs stand up. But at the same time, I hear people talk about where they've gone back into the office, and here they are. They're each sitting at their own cubicle, and they're not going into a conference room. They're all on the same Zoom call. They're all in the same building, and it just blows my mind.
I will date our buddy David Danto even further than you, Susan. Danto's been working remotely. I shouldn't say working from home, working remotely since the late 90s. And I can recall, I can pull off the top of my head 3 or 4 articles that Danto wrote during COVID, during the pandemic, going, what do you mean that there's this suddenly that remote work is not new? I've been doing it for 30 years, right? And I love David, don't misunderstand, but he makes the point as, this is not new, kids, right? This is not new. We can do this. And he is certainly one of the more louder voices in our industry saying, don't do RTO. It's stupid, right? It's silly. It's been demonstrated for decades now, right? To your point, 2008, to Danto's point, since the late 90s, when he was working for Bloomberg, I think it was. And he was managing teams globally.
It's old school thinking.
Susan, as somebody who was a workaholic in my 20s, I would be in the office till 3 in the morning and back at 8, 9 in the morning. I was commuting an hour each way. I work from home now. I do have, like I said, I have the option to go on site, but I have a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. And when I spend my day commuting 1 to 2 hours each way, I'm losing up to 4 hours of my day.
Yep.
And I don't want to miss those crucial periods with them. And working from home has allowed me to get work done, and from 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I can go see them after work, and I'm not losing out on any time with them. So my mindset did shift from workaholic to parent, and it took some time, but you're absolutely right about the work-life balance.
All right, Dawson, you have a unique perspective.
I do.
Because,
right.
Hey, I'm going to let you say it. Hang on. I'm going to let you say it. But you and I were talking earlier before we started recording. The Irish government actually has put in place, is it hybrid by law? Like you can request from your employer.
Yes, correct.
1 or 2 days a week. What is it?
Currently, it is 2 days a week working from home. Now, you have to request it from your employer. Before I get into that, I just want to comment on the Newcastle end of things and the actual story itself, right? Okay, so because I'm a bit closer to England as well, they don't govern us, right? But slightly closer, right? Okay, so English Premiership and sport, you would think to yourself, well, they're good, high-paid sports stars, so if there's any of those football players start complaining about having to be in the office, well, the office is actually that pitch, so we'll leave that there. But I do understand with regards to the admin staff that could be in Newcastle United, that people that might be doing marketing, people that might be doing customer service, and selling tickets, if they have the abilities to work from home, they should have the abilities. Yes, so Ireland does have a law that says that you can request to work 2 days from home. Currently, at the moment, and there is a lot of unions that are fighting back on this, they're trying to change it to just working 1 day a week from home. I agree completely with what Susan says. I especially agree with what Kelly says here. I have a young family too. I have an 8-year-old who has disabilities. I have a 6-year-old as well. And then let's look at this on the higher ed perspective. Okay, so I've spoken on a lot of podcasts about this in the past. We have a problem with student accommodation. We have students traveling the length and breadth of the country, maybe further than even 2.5 hours journey just to get each day to college. Now, to do what, maybe 2 or 3 hours of tuition. Now, that's all got to do with the university and the scheduling of classes, fine, right? And every university is different. But if we take the university and we also take even in the employment type of idea and go back to COVID, the trust value has gone from it all, right? RTO, get your ass back into work. You know, I'm going to use the words, Tim, no pun intended, but the Irish exit. It pushes employees to want to just go, you know what, I'm going to find something else. If you don't trust me on my ability to work from home, well, then why do I want to stay here? You know, and it's the morale value. You know, some people would rather work from home. Some people would be more productive working from home. I know I am more productive working from home because I don't get all the knocks on the door for random requests, like what Kelly said, docking stations. People bring down my computer's not turning on. You know, go over to the IT department. It's not my job. You know, I'm trying to deal with the other things. Or, you know, we have the thought of like not bringing your mouse, not bringing your cables, all these type of things that will go into effect. But the Work Relations Commission, like it even comes back to unions, like fighting back through the WRC and saying, we don't, like, you promised that our contract says that we can work from home a certain amount of days a week. You know, like, yes, a lot of companies have downsized, but like the likes of Newcastle United, well, that's a stadium, you know, like if they can fit people into the stadium to work around the office buildings, you know, the stadium is not going to change size. It's going to expand. It's not going to downsize. But it does come back to the whole idea of like a lot of these offices and spaces were made open plan during COVID, you know, for space allocation, you know, that you're not going to get infected with COVID. And now they're going to have to put back in the walls. They don't have the resources. You know, you have these booths. People don't want to talk to each other in an open plan. People are very aware of like overhearing. So are you going to equip everyone like, and as what Kelly and Susan said, you know, 3 or 4 people sitting beside you, that's all on the same Zoom call, you know, because one person can't get in. I'm going to leave on this one, right? There was a prime example of a university in Ireland, in Dublin actually, not my university, but and the lecturer was trying, because all the students and staff are sharing car parking spaces, the lecturer was giving a midday class, couldn't get a car parking space on campus. So what did this lecturer have to do? She had to go on a Zoom on her mobile phone and her laptop, connect it up, and give her class from her car because she couldn't find parking space on site. And she took that to the WRC. That's still ongoing at the moment in Ireland of why, if you want me to be in work, are you going to provide me a place to actually park my car as a member of staff? You know, or the fact that I can't actually, the inability to do my job and my role because I can't even find a car parking space.
Well, here's the thing. There are several aspects. We're an AV show, right? So we're talking about the technology and stuff like that. But that's a valid point. Whether that is the spaces available, the amenities that are not amenities, but just the facilities that have not been touched in 4 or 5 years, and whether or not they are up to code. And I am not suggesting that Newcastle's facilities is in disrepair, but whether that is San Francisco or New York or Houston, there are certainly several buildings that have been empty since 2020, 2021, and certainly need a little bit of an upgrade. So. All right, we are at a weird point in time. I'm still going to hit it. We're just going to hit this really quickly. And I apologize to Frank Paticella ahead of time. For our second round, we're going to shift something slightly. Okay, there's this new nonprofit called AV Trust. One of our buddies, Frank Paticella, is one of the founders. Its mission is supposed to be pretty straightforward. Bring the same kind of structured cybersecurity frameworks that have protected traditional IT environments into the world of commercial AV and UC. The organization's founding premise says this: the AV industry has evolved to embrace a more connected architecture, but the security practices haven't kept pace, which is fair, right? If you manage organization systems in your organization, whether it's conference rooms or digital signage or control systems or whatever, these are all network devices. They are all endpoints, networked endpoints. And this is something that all of us should care about. I don't quite know that AV Trust is the mechanism by which it will get done. Susan, we'll start with you on this. How serious? Well, first of all, really quick question: how serious is this threat? How serious should we be taking AV network security?
I struggle with this one because cybersecurity is nothing new. It's been around for years. I mean, 2008. I used to work for McAfee. We were talking about, 1 in 4 people have identity theft, but I mean, I think it's really great to share best practices, and it's driving a conversation in the industry. I just don't know if there could be a standard. I've sold IP power, I'm in digital signage. A lot of stuff is cloud-based. The IT department is getting, involved in the decision-making of all the digital signage screens because, it's connected to the network. There's media players, all the CMSs are cloud-based. There's remote tools. From my point at Bluefin, I mean, we're just talking about locking down screens, disabling ports, or, preventing malware on a USB drive or something like that. I mean, the vertical markets that we play in, are concerned about cyber security, healthcare, financial services, retail. I think it's really great, and it's a really great effort, but it really needs to come from the manufacturing side of how they're some of them have resources to take care of it. Some of them don't. Some of them, they all sit there and point the finger. I've been on it. No, it's the software. No, it's the media player. No, it's your problem. No, it's your problem. And nobody wants to take ownership.
This is why people want to work from home.
Including the integrator, just for the record, just so I've said that out loud, including the integrator. So,
hey, I give them kudos for trying this. I will, support them if I'm always open for people trying new things and trying to bring more awareness around it. I just don't know how it's going to be executed.
Mr. Dawson, they say that the AV Trust folks say that they are specifically calling out the gap between where AV security practices are today and where established IT security frameworks already exist. Do they have a point?
They're blaming the AV guys again for all the problems on their IT network, as usual, Tim. Look, I love Frank to bits. He knows that I bounce off him all the time. But, this is one more attempt of IT claiming that they're AV. And I honestly, in all scenarios, it'd be trying to change. We're constantly called as an AV technician. There's the IT support team. So it's a great idea. I agree, it's a great idea. It's a great to make awareness of cybersecurity also affects the AV end of things. But I'm going to say I'll leave that up to the IT team to make sure the network is secure.
All right, Kelly. Who is most responsible?
That's a loaded question.
That is what I do. That is all that I do, dude. I have one skill. That is it. As
somebody who's multidisciplined, it's... Okay, here's what I think. I'm going to stay as neutral as possible. So I think AV Trust is launching at the right time. With the commercial AV and unified communications industry has evolved from isolated hardware systems to fully network connected infrastructure, and that changes the risk profile completely. What we should expect from an organization like AV Trust is structure, right? So structured vulnerability disclosure processes, clear security standards, frameworks that manufacturers and integrators alike and end users can align to, and most importantly, education. So historically, AV has not always operated with the same cybersecurity maturity as IT.
That's being nice, by the way. That's being kind.
But that gap is closing fast because AV now lives on the network, right? And it has for some time. It touches corporate data, conferencing systems, cameras, control processors, sometimes even access control. That means it's part of the attack surface, whether we acknowledge it or not. As an organization like AV Trust can help professionalize the layer of the industry, creating that accountability, best practices, and a shared security baseline. I think what we should expect is not overnight transformation, but we should expect leadership and guidance and a path towards kind of a measurable security standard that elevates the entire industry. So I actually understand the skepticism. I do. Industry nonprofits don't automatically create change just by existing. The impact depends on adoption. So I don't think the question is whether... Personally, I don't think the question is whether AV Trust alone will fix cybersecurity. It won't. The question is whether the AV industry needs a coordinated mechanism focused specifically on security. And I'd argue yes. Right now, AV sits in the gray space between IT, facilities, integrators, and that diffusion of responsibility is part of the problem. An organization like this, AV Trust, creates a focal point. Will every manufacturer immediately change? No. But without a framework, there's no shared baseline at all. So if not this mechanism, then what is the alternative? Regulatory enforcement? A major breach that forces change, vendor by vendor chaos? Most industries improve security posture through voluntary frameworks first, and then market pressure follows every time. Customers start asking for compliance. RFPs start referencing standards. That's how behavior changes.
But my thought there, Kelly, is when I buy a new AV device and I'm putting it on the network, my IT team, especially if it's one of these boxes that is not the usual boxes that they put into the system for control, they will ask me straight away, we're not putting that on our network unless you tell us all the port list. And then I'll go back to the manufacturer and say, can you give me the spec of all the ports that need to be open for this device? Do I really need to know? No, I'm passing it over to the IT department. Let them deal with it. So long as the controls is working, everyone's happy.
I get that pushback a lot too. I do. And I've worked as an integrator. I worked as an integrator the first half of my career, and I understand completely what you're talking about. And I do agree with that. I'm on both sides, so I understand both sides. And
I don't expect the IT guys to understand sound and visuals and lumens and decibels the way we do.
They don't want to, and that's the problem. Is
and I don't want to
a
know
lot
IT.
of them don't. Yeah, I have a brother-in-law that works in IT, and we, I haven't had in-depth conversations about it, but from him being the IT person and me being the designer, we're never going to fully agree, and I think IT has kind of that pushback built into the way they operate, right? If it's not something they're a subject matter expert in, they want you to give them all the information, and I have come across that, yeah. But I also am somebody who designs networks, and I personally am not one of those people. But then again, I already know all the ins and outs of AV, so maybe that's why I'm different. But I do get that pushback. You're right, and that is an issue that still lives to this day.
All right, I will say this as ending this, Justin. I do not. You can write me a response if you'd like. You may not want to know IT, but the day is coming because you are an anomaly, my friend, where you're going to be forced to know IT.
I do know IT. I joke.
No, I said, no, you can write me a response. But every person with AV in their title, you're going to have to learn IT in the next, I'm going to say 2 years, because if you haven't already, you're going to be forced to. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Kelly Teal, TLD, Design and Consulting. How do people connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn under Kelly Teal.
All right. A new LinkedIn profile picture too. So go check that out.
Yeah, I'm probably going to update it again because I need to get a new headshot.
I just noticed it was new the other day. Susan Wilhite, thank you so much for joining us again. How do people connect with you, and how do people connect with Bluefin?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, absolutely. Susan Wilhite. I'm on LinkedIn. And for any digital signage needs you have, we're thebluefin.com is our website.
Very cool. Go check them out. Really cool. They had a really nice stand at ISC, so that you can check out videos from that. Mr. Dawson, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you? How do they find your fantastic podcast, on
Well,
how
thank
they-
you. And the podcast, All Things Techie, so I have to embrace IT as well there, Tim. That's my rebuttal there. So allthingstech.ie. You can also find me on all the socials at Sir Justin Dawson. So I do really embrace IT. I kid you.
Okay, I'll take that. All right, my name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere. It's not very interesting. But go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. You can see our AVNation Reader's Choice Awards announcement. Mitchell did a fantastic job with all the graphics and everything, so you can check out that. Congratulations to all of our winners. You can still check out our coverage of ISE, avnation.tv/ISE 2026. If you want to see me in person, 2 chances actually 3 chances. Good Lord, 3 chances. I forgot I did this. 3 chances the next month. I'll be in Austin for South by Southwest with our friends at Logi. I will be at Almo E4 March 17th doing a keynote. There might be some AV network security in that keynote. And then I'll be at ISC Charlie West in Las Vegas the end of March. If you want to read things that I write about that has nothing to do with technology, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. But go by the website, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.